I was married, and I have a family of 7. And this is the 7th hour. I have a family of 7. My husband was a survivor of 9/11. A lot of people don't think that the individuals who survived 9/11 would have a household where domestic violence became the norm, became rampant. Sometimes people who go through really difficult situations like acts of war, such as 9/11, they have post-traumatic stress disorder, they don't get proper therapy. In my situation, my former husband lost 285 coworkers. He didn't get the therapy he needed therapy. And he had something called survivor's guilt. He was very angry. Said something sometimes like, why wasn't I the one who died? Why did I have to live through it? And then it got to the point where he felt really bad and he wouldn't go for help. And then he would start blaming it on me, and then he would blame it on the children, and then he would blame it on everybody. And then he'd start lashing out, and we would try to appease and comfort. But we weren't therapists, and we didn't really know how to console somebody who was going through such a difficult experience. At one point, we were driven at very high speeds. We were taken out of state. We were driven to the high point in North Carolina, they call the Blue Mountains. I was told we were going to be driven over the cliff. But that didn't happen. I had to figure out a way to say, the kids have to go to the bathroom, and they have to jump out of the car and run into the restroom. You always have to use these tactics to try to divert the event from happening. I've been driven at high speeds on Route 287 at 99 to 110 miles an hour because the person was angry. And what do you do when you have children in the back seat, some in the car seat, and you have a cell phone that you can't get access to, and you're trying to comfort the person and get them to slow down? So that's just a minor bit of the experiences. Well, one night in 2010, I remember he was traveling and came home pretty late on a flight, JFK, and he was angry again. Why? Because I wouldn't pick up the phone at 2:30 in the morning. I was falling asleep. I have 5 children. Take care of them. So I remember, and you know your house, if you hear something jiggle downstairs or you hear somebody stomping or angry, you know what's going on. I could hear the cutlery drawer in the kitchen, knives being jiggled. And then I heard stomping up the stairs, and then the bright lights came on again in my face. And the bad words started spewing out of the mouth at me, calling me all kinds of names. It was sort of like shock and awe because I was asleep and I wasn't expecting it. And he went back downstairs to get something else, and I had an old skeleton key, and I locked the bedroom door and locked myself inside, and I called Sandra. I'm laughing, but I called Sandra Ramos. And she didn't know me from a hill of beans. But all I can say is that they asked me, are you safe? And I said, no. Are your children there? I said, yeah, they're here. Are they safe? No, we're not safe. And I remember they called the police, sent the police, and they came. And that night, he wasn't escorted out, but the police came to get some peace in this situation, pillows and blankets downstairs on the couch. I wish I had have known to leave at that point, but I didn't. But I stayed, and the next day, he went out again. Time went on, and more things happened. I was thrown downstairs. I have my bones broken. I've had my arm crushed in a door frame. I'm still actually recovering from the injury from my arm and my wrist. So I had to leave. Or I would be killed. I was told repeatedly, we have over $1.5 million of life insurance on your name. You're worth more dead than alive. I need the money. I can kill you with my own hands, or I can hire someone to get rid of you. Unfortunately, I located a check that he had written to someone to get rid of me. At that point, I shared with some of the law enforcement leaders in the judicial system, but nobody believed me. But a few people in law enforcement definitely believed me. and they came to my aid, and they protected me, and they hid me. And I have to say, military leaders, you guys rock, men and women alike. I want to share, I have a couple of notes here, and I just want to share this word. The word is called SEEP, S-E-E-P-P. The P-P, because it's like a P squared. But the word SEEP, how does domestic violence happen to us? How does bullying happen to us? It seeps in slowly. SEEP. Remember the acronym, this word, SEEP. How does it happen? It can happen through a variety of different abuses. It could be a sexual abuse, emotional, economic, psychological, and physical abuse. I didn't really understand those terms. And when I met Angela, thank you, Angela. Angela, who works with Strengthen Our Sisters, she educated me on the things that I needed to know to get away from what was happening to me and my children. We had code words. For example, if something was about to happen, you could feel the tension and build up. We had a code word, Starbucks. Oh, that means jump in the car and we're leaving because we're going to get something from Starbucks. Usually we were going to a Starbucks in Virginia and not in our town. Each step of this word SEEP is reinforced. It's a behavior that is reinforced by something else. For example, that reinforcement is known as the cycle of abuse. The steps are tension building. You know that situation sometimes if you're about to have an argument with someone, at first it doesn't seem like, it's going to get any worse, or then it starts to escalate. One thing I learned from law enforcement is that keep your mouth shut. Why? Because the escalation cannot increase. It takes two people to argue. One person starts, the next person starts, and so on, and it snowballs, and then there's a big argument, and then things start flying, and words and physical things happen. But if you learn to be quiet, you can be in control of your environment a little bit better. When the tension is building, you can actually decrease some of that tension by not saying anything. The next step is an incident. Okay, if the tension does build and you keep letting your mouth go and go and go, eventually an incident could happen. Once the incident happens, somebody could get hurt. Sometimes it's just emotional hurt, or it could be a physical hurt. It could be with you, the child, an elder, a grandparent, a caregiver, a spouse, a partner. It doesn't matter. It can escalate into a big problem. After the incident occurs, there's something called reconciliation. That's the step before what they call the honeymoon phase, right? The honeymoon phase. So the reconciliation is like, oh, I'm sorry, did I hurt you? I won't do that again. And then that's when that person, husband or wife, child, grandparent, neighbor, whoever is arguing with you, if they feel guilty, they might go out and buy you flowers and chocolates, teddy bears. They'll go get the newspaper for you, whatever you need, for the moment. And then there's a sense of calm because you feel like, wow, that person really didn't mean it. They really are sorry. See how nice they were? They bought me the newspaper, or they brought me chocolates or a teddy bear. And so you have that sense of calm, which almost feels like you're on a honeymoon again. You feel happy. You can trust them again. After that stage, they say they're sorry, and they will never do it again. But then it starts again like a wheel. The tension starts building. Maybe they got angry at work that day, or at school, or something happened at the grocery store, or maybe somebody had road rage behind them, and now they're going to come home and they're angry and they want to blow off their steam, and you're the target because you're there, no matter how old you are or how young you are. And so that same behavior starts to happen again. And then, before you know it, a pattern of behavior has resulted. I'm going to share with you, there are the 5 forms, but I'm going to try to go through them pretty quickly, and I want to share just a little brief story with you. The 5 forms that I mentioned to you first was the sexual, which I won't go into too much, but that's when you're being forced to do something against your will with your body that you don't want to do. The next one would be the emotional side. Somebody's undermining you, telling you that you're worthless, that you can't do anything right, that you'll never amount to anything. Well, the fact that you're here tonight, you have amounted to something, and you're going to continue to amount to something, even if it's incremental every single day that you still live and exist on this earth. For example, that person will criticize you, or they'll belittle you, or they'll tell you that, they'll give you the silent treatment, or they'll start manipulating you. And if you don't do this for me, or you don't do that for me, I won't be your friend anymore, or I won't talk to you anymore, I'll give you the cold shoulder. And they try to induce a sense of guilt. And if you fall into it, you'll start going right back into that cycle. So that's the emotional. Then there's the economic side of it. They try to make you financially dependent on them. So when you go to the bank and get your money, if you have a joint account or a credit card or something, they may actually go behind your back and do, identity theft. Maybe get a credit card in your name without your knowledge, or call your credit card company and get the additional card holder in their name and spend up all of your money and leaving you in debt. It happens to men, it happens to women. They will also, from time to time, come to your job and harass you there so that you might get fired and you won't have a way to earn any income, so you can't escape. Another opportunity would be, they call that on-the-job harassment. The other things that they can do to you from time to time is just simply, withhold groceries from you so you can't get food, or don't give you money so you can't buy medicine or things that you need. So those are SEEP, right? S-E-E. The sexual, the emotional, the economic, all right? And then, let me go back to my first page. The physical was one of the P's. If they can't have what they want, and you continue not giving them what they want what they want, and they're not being reinforced, and you're not giving them what they want, so they're going to get angry with you. And sometimes, even if you give them what they want, they're still going to be angry, because every time you give someone who doesn't mean you well what they want, what's going to happen next time? They're going to want something even more. They're going to be even more demanding, and your reward that you have to give them, or the reinforce that you have to give them, will have to be bigger. And then the next time, they'll request it again. And if you don't do it, they're going to get angry. And then you've got to do something like run down to the store and get something that they want to eat. And I'll share this Hungry Jack mashed potato story with you shortly. But you run out and you do everything, even if it's a snowstorm, to make sure that that person's happy. And they're still not happy enough. No matter how much you try to reward them or try to calm the situation down, when you keep rewarding bad behavior, what's going to come back? More bad behavior. So the physical things that start happening are grabbing you, pinching you, shoving you, slapping you. Sometimes they twist your arm. Sometimes they crush your wrist, or they'll shoot you or hit you with blunt objects. Or while you're sleeping, I had a friend 1 year, many years ago. Her husband was an anesthesiologist. He was angry with her. He tried to anesthetize her in her sleep. So people do things that they shouldn't do. So that's the physical. And then there's another letter P here. I'm just trying to get my page turning. There you go. The psychological. All right, so the psychological is instilling or attempting to instill fear, intimidate you, threaten you with physical harm, or threaten to kidnap your children and take them away. And I'm sure you hear the Amber Alerts go off from time to time. Sometimes it's a parent or somebody in the family. Or what they'll do is they'll even take your puppy away if you have a dog, or play mind games or start stalking you, isolating you, keeping you from going to work or going to school, or having access to friends where you can actually share what's happening to you. So those are just a few things that I wanted to share. At this point in my life, I have gone back to school. I have finished another degree. I work with children. I'm a state certified teacher. And I work with law enforcement, interestingly. And I don't know if I should say the name of the group that I work with. But we work to protect women and children and men from this type of situation. And I just want to close in telling every one of you that New Jersey stands strong against domestic violence. And if you're afraid, or if you know anyone who's afraid, whisper, send a 3x5 card. Maybe you can't text it right away, but have a code word like Starbucks, get help. And the reason why I'm saying get help is not because I'm just trying to warn you. When I did leave, finally, I stayed with a friend who told me don't go back. Because another friend of ours actually went back, and she and her boys are no longer with us on this earth. And when that people think that that's not true and that can't happen to you or to your friends and loved ones, but I can say to you right now with COVID-19, a lot of people are locked into their homes and they don't know where to go and they don't know who to talk to. And that's understandable, right? Because they're in there and they are very vulnerable. But if you see someone that doesn't look right, you know that rule or word? If you see something, what did they say? Say something. Please say something, right? Because it could be a child in your community or a mom or a grandparent. Just say something. And reach out to your law enforcement leaders. They're there for you. And call Angela. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.